see if we can settle down and enjoy our donuts. And did you enjoy these pictures that we showed this morning? Thank the photo sync for that. Jeff, you need to take a little bit of credit there. But they've been doing a lot of flower shoots, barn shoots, and other type of activities around here. If you want to learn how to take great pictures like this, talk to Jeff or join the photo sync group.
We'll get there sooner or later.
My able assistant is getting us ready. So today is August 5th. Our agenda for this morning, you want to scroll? Or you want me to scroll?
I'll scroll it back. Down, side, side, trip.
This side?
Roll it down.
Oh. Why don't you just scroll? That's called delegation. This is the activities that we have set for today. We'll give you a little bit of financial report. We'll give you some membership and training, community matters and club matters, things like that. So we can move to the budget, and this is where we stand as of July 31. We do our books normally on the last day of the month, and that's why we're reflecting this information based on July 31. And Howie does that thanklessly, but he does a very good job of keeping the books for the club. As you can see, we're on schedule at Grafton Township for donations for your contributions for donuts. And that is just a pass-through. We collect the money and we send it to Grafton, whatever you contribute. The club supports buying the donuts and coffee for the club meetings. Membership, it's 1402, although I was in the club room on Friday, and I believe there's probably 6 or 8 new members since this was prepared. So we're continuing to move north again. We always have that lull right after July 1 where we have membership dropping from around 1850 to 1900 down to the 1400 level. And by next June 30, we've had enough computer problems in the neighborhood that it's back up. Okay, Computer Club news. As you know, the new officers are myself, Jim Nelson, Howie Huckstead, and Molly. And anytime you need to get in touch with us, hopefully we'll be available, or we can be on vacation. The next item is I want to thank Frank for all of his service and all of his continuing service. He hasn't stopped. He hasn't forgotten the lab. He knows where it is. He comes in. He works on Picasso. He works on computers. He does a lot of magnificent things for us. And and most of all, he keeps the computer running here for me today. Anyway, thank you, Frank. Okay, the next item is important. Does everyone enjoy the donuts? Good. That means that we now need to find a couple of volunteers to share the duties of picking up the donuts for this meeting. And it is very easy. You send out 3 emails early in the month, or actually fairly close to the meeting time. You make 1 phone call to confirm everything's set, and then you pick up a check in the club room to cover the cost of the donuts and go over, pick them up, and deliver them here. And I would really appreciate a couple of volunteers. Don Sneezak has done this job for quite some time now, and he volunteers in the lab, and is going to be away some of this fall and winter, and we do indeed need someone, and we need them now, because it's next month we need to have that taken care of by a couple of volunteers. So if you don't want donuts, that's fine, we can take care of that. Or if you want donuts, we can get a couple of volunteers. And I'll be up here afterward, you can come up and talk with me. Thank you, Don. A hand for Don. Next month, the talk will be on Skype, and it'll be presented by a couple of people from the Microsoft store over in Schaumburg. And they will be showing us some of the new things. Skype is now owned by, is it Microsoft? Yeah. Skype is now owned by Microsoft, so that's why they are presenting. In fact, Microsoft has agreed to make a couple of different presentations throughout the calendar year 18 for us. Next is training. We have one last class for August. It's on August 11th, and it's on file management. It's, I believe, at 6 p.m. Is that right, Ralph? 6:30. 6:30. Okay. And so if you want to make note of that, if you want to learn how to do a little bit more in the file management area on your computer. Community matters. We have a board workshop meeting on August 9th. We have a board meeting on August 23rd. And so this is just an awareness of those two meetings so that you might want to attend. If you have something that you want discussed at those meetings, I think you have to provide information beforehand. And the next is the woodchucks, always Chuck. And August 10th, they're going to have an open house so you can see what their tools do, how they do it, but they won't be running that day. So if you're interested, the woodchucks are always a very good supporter of many facets of our community, whether it's constructing sets for the theater group or building things for the ball field, et cetera, et cetera. And you can see their handiwork in the display cases. Volunteer appreciation is on Wednesday, September 6th. Thank you. And those of you that volunteer in various clubs in the communities, just be aware of that, and you can get tickets for that at the CAM desks. And without further ado, we'll move into Bill Saletti's presentation today, which is apps you should have on your phone and tablet. Let's welcome Bill.
Morning, everyone. Such a beautiful day outside. I see Dave went through the presentation pretty quickly, and I'm going to do the same thing. So we'll get you out of here pretty quickly to go out and enjoy this beautiful day. Okay, we're going to talk about applications on tablets and smartphones. Now, I want to remind everyone that there are well over 1 million applications available for the iPhone, iPad, and 2 million applications available for the Android and the Android phones. So I took the liberty of paring that down to just a few screens today. I hope you appreciate that. I did not want to talk about all those different applications. The focus of this presentation is to give you get that thing. Yeah, there you go.
Stand back.
Yeah, I'm going to stand back a little bit. The focus of this presentation is to give you a highlight of some types of applications that you might want to use on your mobile devices. It's not intended to be a comprehensive list today, but I will entertain questions throughout this on applications that perhaps you're using or some that you would like to use in the future. So the things I want to talk about today, I've paired them up into categories of financial, recreational, travel, calendar, medical, information, communications, productivity, storage, and protection. I like the category of things. I don't know if you like that or not, and I noticed that we're going to teach a class on file management. Are you doing that this time? No. But John and I both have taught that class, and when I first started getting into computing in the, not mobile computing, but personal computing in the early 80s, I had a friend of mine in San Francisco that I was working with, and he had already developed a system of file management. I still use that system today, and it's worked well for me over the years. And when I teach the class, I share that system with you, but I encourage you to develop your own system of file management. Well, I do the same thing when it comes to applications on devices. I like to have them categorized into groups. And on my smartphone, I have 3 different screens. And on my tablet, I have 5 different screens, and I have them grouped. And I group these things together into groups so that when I want to look for something, I can find it fairly quickly. And I encourage you, as you use your mobile devices, to do something like that. And it's not a pitch for file management, but it's a pitch for, if you're looking for something, how to find it fairly quickly. Okay, in the financial category, the areas that I picked are banking, and in banking, you can do checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards. One of the neat things is you can have your credit cards on your phone, on your mobile device, or your tablet, whichever you would prefer to use. And when you charge something, you can just go right into that device to see if that charge came through correctly. In most cases, if I'm at Costco and I use the Citi card, in most cases, by the time I leave the register and walk out of the store, that actually is available on my phone to see what I have charged. I mean, that transaction happens that quickly electronically these days. In terms of your checking account, you can use your mobile devices like you use your computer, and you can send checks, write checks or send transactions to various vendors, etc. Financial information. How many of you use your auto ID card on your phone now? Let's see, 1 person. Okay, 1 person. 2 people. 3 people. Okay, I use mine. Anybody over here? No? Okay. That's pretty handy if you need that information for whatever reason. It's an application, an app that you put on there for any one of these insurance companies, and you pop it up and it says auto ID, and you just touch that particular function, and boom, there's your auto ID that you can present to whomever you need to present it to at that time. Medical insurance information is available, and I put Gas Buddy in the financial category. You can also put that into travel. Anybody in here use Gas Buddy?
Yeah.
Great, glad to see that. That is a really good tool. My wife and I get ready to go on vacation shortly, and we use Gas Buddy when we're getting to the point where we're ready to fill up. I always just launch Gas Buddy and I say near me, and I try to find the stations that have the best price gases. Portfolio monitoring, Yahoo Finance is probably still one of the best tools out there. You can take your portfolio, you can first off see what the markets are doing on a given day, like today or yesterday, not today because they're closed. But you can see how the markets are performing, and you can see not only the markets here in the U.S., but the foreign markets. You can see the currency exchanges. You can see all the products that are available in the market. And you can also, on there, load your portfolio so you can see how your portfolio is responding on a given day. CNBC is another app that you can put on your phone. I did not find that one quite as robust as Yahoo, but I wanted to give you another choice to look at. For games, obviously, a lot of us play games. I just use a couple of them, but games are something that, in fact, when I first started working with computing, in training in computing, and that's not my background, by the way, this has always just been my hobby. But when I first started training, one of the things that I was taught was to teach people how to play solitaire with a mouse. How many of you learned to play solitaire with a mouse?
Yep.
It was a great way to learn mouse skills because you had to slide the mouse around on the screen and tell it to do this and tell it to do that. You had to click the hold something and move it. In the old days of solitaire, you couldn't click it and it would just pop up there. You had to actually slide it in place. It was a great tool, and we encouraged Even in the business environment, we encourage people to play solitaire. Did you say something? And so that's a great game to learn mouse skills. Music is something else that's really good for your devices. Most devices today have Bluetooth connectivity. You can get one of these small Bluetooth speakers and carry that with you, and then turn your music on and amplify it into a room or into another room, however you would like to do that. But it's nice to have it, and with the capacity of all these mobile devices today, you can load, I think on my phone right now, I have 80 CDs loaded on there. So, and it doesn't even take up hardly any space at all. Videos do take space. Movies you can get from Redbox, and of course, for the theater, I use Marcus Theaters, and you can order your tickets on with your app prior to arriving at the theater, and then all you have to do is go in the theater and go up to one of the kiosks and get your tickets. You can even get your seat assignments before you arrive at the theater. The one thing, how many of you travel with some frequency on an airplane? Just a few, okay. There is a trend going on the airplanes these days, on the new model airplanes that are coming out from Boeing and Airbus. They're removing all of the TV screens from the airplanes. I don't know if any of you have been on a plane that's done that, but you can no longer use one of their monitors, and the only way to have entertainment, should you choose to have entertainment, is to carry your smartphone or a tablet and then log into their Wi-Fi and use their Wi-Fi to get the entertainment onto your device. They also, on those planes now, also provide 110 connections, so if you need to charge your device while you're watching it, that's just right at the seat. But that's a new trend on air travel, and it's been on trains for many, many years. My wife and I lived back east for a lot of years, and we took trains all over the east, and they've had 110 connections on those for a long time. And of course, using these mobile devices is pretty handy. Reading, you can use Bluetooth to connect to something and use it as an audio. If you downloaded something onto your tablet or smartphone, you can that reads, you can then Bluetooth it and listen to it, just like I was talking about on the Bluetooth speakers, or you can Bluetooth it into your car if your car has Bluetooth capability. Books, you can get those from Huntley Library, magazines from Huntley Library, and of course I use the Bible app. I show that up there. That Bible app has been downloaded over 100 million times since they put that online, and it's free. For travel, you have maps. I like one of the features on Apple Maps. If you have a Google phone, an Android phone, I believe Google does the same thing, but if you have an Apple phone, I have the Google Maps on that phone as well, because it does other functions better than the Apple app. But the Apple app does a traffic monitoring, which is really neat and unique, and it helps you if you're driving in, particularly in inclement weather, or if you're driving in a congested area. You can pull that map up on your phone, and it will show you what the road conditions are like with dashes. Well, if it's clear, there is no indication if the traffic's getting heavy. It'll have little dashes if it's actually stopped or below an average of 10 miles an hour, and then it'll go black as a line, solid line, but it tells you what's going on the roads in front of you. Google Maps, in addition to directions, in the Google Maps section, you can also find restaurants near you and lodging near you. GPS, driving directions, of course, that's a standard thing on all mobile devices today. Travel clubs, airline and lodging. If you are flying these days, and even if you're not part of one of the airline clubs, you can download the app for the airline, let's say Southwest or American. You can download that app, and when you make your reservations, that reservation will, when you log in, will come into your application, and your boarding pass, again, just a button to push, and your boarding pass pops up, and you don't have to have a paper ticket or anything and fumble for that when you're going through the airport. For lodging, just about every one of the major hotel chains out there now has a lodging app, which you can log into and use and find lodging, but also it will bring your reservations up on the app. It'll tell you or ask you when you're going to plan to arrive at a particular destination, and you can tell them. And there's some advantages in terms of speed of check-in using these apps. Calendar, I don't know how many of you use the features in the calendar program. Excuse me, but the calendar program, of course, you can put events in, and you can set alarms for those events to remind you. And you can also use medical alarms. Medical alarms are especially good if you are taking medications 2, 3, 4 times a day. That's something that will help you quite a bit for reminding you when to take medication. Same thing with the clock. Clock will give you, of course, information, but also it'll allow you to set alarms for different events. Obviously, an alarm clock to wake up, one of the most common, but also you can set them for reoccurring events, and again for medical alarms for medication or what have you. For medical fitness activities, activity tracking, diary, progress, I use a thing called MyFitnessPal. Thank you, buddy. I use an application called MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal attaches to my iPhone, and iPhone has an automatic feature built into it that tracks all your activity for the day, your walking, etc., and it automatically transfers that to MyFitnessPal. And of course, in MyFitnessPal, I can log all of my activities as well as all of the food that I consume for a day, and it'll keep up with, give you a plan, and you can track your progress against that plan. One of the best apps sets of apps that come out of Vital Statistics. If you're working with a doctor and the doctor has asked you to track these, I just use 2 of them, blood pressure, blood sugar, but any other vital statistics that you need, you actually can set the app on your phone to send that information to the doctor so that the doctor will have that information on your next visit and they can see what's going on. Or if you have it on your phone and you don't send it to them, they can take your phone and look at it. I've been working with a therapist lately, and I've been tracking particularly my activities. And when I go to see the therapist, the physical therapist, they can look and see what activities I've been doing over the last week since I saw them last time, which is, I find that very handy. You don't have to have a lot of paper and shuffle papers to talk to them, etc. Information, weather, news, sports, maps, notes, contacts. I use the Weather Channel. That's my favorite. The Weather Channel gives you a lot of information on the trip that I'm getting ready to go on. I set already all of the destinations that I'm going to be at for those for this trip, and I can go into each of those locations and find out what the weather's going to be like for the next 10 days. That's very helpful. Obviously, news. I think I have too many news alerts because they go off all the time. But you can certainly keep up with the local news or the national news or whatever you want. Same thing with sporting events. If you set the sporting events up, if you like to follow the Cubs or the White Sox or the Bears, you can set alerts on there so it'll automatically tell you what's going on during game activity. Maps we've already talked about. Notes is a feature that I use a lot. I like it. I keep a lot of little notes on my phone that provide information that I might need when I'm working somewhere. If it's something that I've learned in the computer club and I may need to repeat over and over and over, I'll actually type a little note to myself and leave it in the notes file so that I can remember the procedure that I use to help the next person that comes in. Contacts speak for themselves, but contacts are extremely robust today, not just phone numbers, addresses, but you can also, when you go to someone's address in these contacts now, you can hit just a particular application, you just touch this button and it'll automatically give you the driving directions to their house, which that's connected to Google Apps, and that works really neat. Communications, FaceTime, Skype, Facebook, Twitter, well, we can go on and on about this one. Texting, Instagram, Snapchat, email. I like to use FaceTime over Skype. I think Skype is a really good tool, and I think when we hear the presentation in September, there's a lot of new features in Skype. My wife and I have stopped using Skype because the people that we communicate with, all of them now have gone to Apple products, so we find FaceTime easier to use. The biggest advantage that I see in FaceTime over Skype is it's like a phone call. So when you FaceTime somebody, the phone rings on the other end. They either answer or don't answer, and if they don't answer, it leaves them a message. With Skype, we used to have to schedule calls with people. So we'd text them, we would ask them, are you going to be available at such and such a time? And then we would set the Skype call up. There is some procedures to getting the Skype that you'll see. Obviously, I don't need to say any more about Facebook and Twitter. If you're using those, you know how. They come standard on all the mobile devices today. You don't even have to download those. Text messaging is an overload. I heard recently there are 8 billion texts sent every day in the world. Is that mind-boggling or what? 8 billion texts. Instagram and Snapchat, I think Snapchat is the one that has become the most popular with teenagers. The advantage of Snapchat is that when you send something to somebody, after they view it, they can no longer see it. So the ability to forward things from place to place, and you know what I'm talking about, all the problems. Snapchat is the way to send those. So if you're not using Snapchat or Instagram, but you have grandchildren that are, you can still text them, but they would probably prefer these other 2 methods. Email is for those of us in our age group. I don't think they use those. Although we have a granddaughter who is going into her senior year in high school, and she was at our house the other day, and I mentioned to her, how much emailing do you do? She said, a little bit. I said, you better get used to it, because colleges use email extensively. They also use texting extensively for notifications of students. This concept of lockdown, they do that through text messaging. But they also send a lot of information about class materials, and you provide information to the professors through email. And I said to her, I just gave her a computer, and I put the email system Outlook on it. And I said, if you don't know how to use Outlook, I need to teach you, because chances are they're going to use Outlook in the college you're going to, and you need to learn how to use it. And of course, when you get to the business world, whatever field you go in, they're going to use email, not texting, to talk to people. So it's something they need to learn. Productivity, I just put these things up here this morning. I checked on something to make sure I was correct, and you can, in fact, download OpenOffice. OpenOffice products, as I show up here, are available other than the Outlook email. I believe Outlook email, but don't hold me to this, is free if you want to use it on your phone. I believe it comes more tablet. I believe it's a free application Microsoft's providing, not the other products, but the email system itself. Storage, if you're not using storage, I encourage you to do that. It's an excellent backup system. We had a question in the last session, last month in July, about if I delete pictures off of my phone, do they get deleted on one of these iCloud, OneDrive, Dropbox, Google Drive? If you have your device, whether it's a phone or tablet, set in sync mode, then the answer is yes, that's going to happen. So if you delete it off of your phone, it's going to delete it off of the cloud drive. If you don't have it in sync mode and you just push this information up to the cloud, then it's not going to delete it. So if you're ready to delete things off of your phone, make sure that you check whether it's set on sync mode. And if you don't know how to do that, consult somebody that does, because it will in fact erase. And this person asked a question, I forget, she had 200 or something pictures that she deleted, and she didn't want to delete them off of the cloud, but they did delete from the cloud, so they were gone. So make sure that you know whether your device is set in sync mode or not. What to store on the cloud: documents, pictures, music, videos. If the device that you're using has limited storage capacity, the cloud is a great way to push it up and let it sit there. And when you want it, bring it back down to view it, etc. Or you can, if you're attached to a Wi-Fi, then you can actually view it while it's online. Anybody that uses a device, whether it's a Apple, and I know Apple has less problems, but we do know now that Apple has some problems. But whether you use Android, Apple, Microsoft, any of the operating systems, we absolutely in the club encourage antivirus and malware. And for mobile devices, these three at the minimum are available. There are lots of others out there that you can use, but these are the three that are available to your mobile devices. And I've used all of these, and all of them work fine for your devices. That's it. Questions?
I'll lead off
Hold on a
with,
second, please.
I'll lead off with the first question. How much does this bog down your phone when you have all of these apps and or functions that you're going to do on your phone? I know you have a new phone, but some of the folks in the audience may not.
Okay, Dave's question is a really good question. The answer is, if you leave multiple apps running, I don't care how new your phone is or how much horsepower, I use the term horsepower for the capacity of the phone and for its ability to function, you should not keep applications running in the background. Both the iPhone and the Android phone, iPad, Android tablets, all have the capability of turning apps off that you're not currently using. So it doesn't bog them down as long as you don't. I mean, there's two answers to that. One is, what's the storage capacity on your device? And it will take up storage capacity. And the second one is, when you're using that device, when you're finished using that application, close that application completely. And take it, don't leave it running in the background, and then it'll leave your device running smooth.
Follow up on that, Bill, is the virus protection that you have on your phone or tablet, are you using the free version or the paid version? And if you buy Norton for your computer at home, is there a discount for Norton on your phone?
Another very good question. The answer is no. They don't sell mobile device, a mobile antivirus and computing antivirus at the same time. They still haven't done that. I just talked to Comcast the other day, who of course gives people for their computers a free version of the Norton antivirus, but it's not available on phones. So yes, I have to pay for it.
Yeah, Bill,
Yes.
Tell me the difference between using texting and versus email. I mean, we can still type in hieroglyphics, so to speak, on either one. What's the advantage of one over the other?
Okay, texting is intended to be a very short, quick type of message to somebody. Hey, I'm leaving now. Do you want me to pick something up at the store? That's a typical text. Or while you're at the grocery store, you get a text. I've got to add sugar to the grocery list. That's a typical text. And email and text you can send to multiple people, but when you send something to multiple people, you also are going to every time they respond, it's going to go back to everybody. So you have very little control in the texting mechanism there. An email is intended. It's older than texting, of course, but it's intended to be something that's more formal in its communication. Email actually replaced memos. And if you need to attach something, it's a lot easier to attach something with an email. You can still attach things with a text, but then reading it and saving it to your phone, etc., is not quite as easy as email. They're close these days, but that's what I use the difference for. Email is communicating with a broad audience and maybe sending or sharing information, more verbiage. A text is a short, quick message to somebody.
You do a short, quick message with an email as well.
You very well can send a quick message on an email. However, not everybody has email on their mobile devices. Not everybody. Everybody that has a mobile device is going to have a text. Do you have a phone, Dave? Mobile phone?
Yeah.
Do you use email on it?
It doesn't do that. It just makes phone.
There you go. But it'll text. But it will text. There you go. So you can text with people that don't otherwise have email on their mobile devices. Yes.
So just a comment. One of the apps that we seem to like is the Amazon Kindle app, which we can sync between the phone and the Kindle or other tablets.
Yes. I didn't get that specific, but that's in the music and the book reading, the Kindle app. The question is, yes, Kindle, particularly if you're a member of the Amazon group, you've got Prime, that's an excellent app to put on your phone. Yes, for reading, listening to music. And also, Kindle or Amazon provides a great deal of storage for you for pictures, music, etc. Yep.
Bill, I know you're talking about mobile devices, but I have a desktop, the Mac, Apple product, and most of these things can be performed on your desktop. FaceTime, all of these things. There are a few things you can't do with the desktop. For those who do not have mobile devices, it does work.
Yeah, but you have to have your laptop with you, and it's this big, and I can carry my phone, and it's this big. The phone fits in my pocket, my laptop doesn't. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the difference between mobile and non-mobile. I mean, that's essentially what you mean. I don't think of a laptop as a mobile device, although you can take your laptop with you in travel, but I think of a tablet or a phone as a mobile device. And also, you can, particularly with the new Windows 10 and with the Mac systems, you can put a lot of these apps on there. We're talking about apps that look different and react different on a mobile device than they do on a computer.
Thank you for showing all of these apps that you use, and everybody has their own favorites, of course. One of the ones I really use a lot for travel is TripAdvisor.
Yep.
TripAdvisor, you can grab a hotel, you can book a plane, but more importantly, as far as I'm concerned, other than leaving comments, both pro and con about the place you were, it has interesting places to visit nearby. And if we found a number of things where it's like, wow, I didn't even know about that. We went and saw the place and had a wonderful time. So TripAdvisor.
Yeah, that's a good one. And you're right. I said there were 1 million apps on iPhones and 2 million on Android. I tried to give you a glimpse of them. This is really intended to be for people who don't use these devices or have just gotten a new one to know. I will tell you, I'm a Marriott user, and I put that up on the screen. And I just booked some reservations at hotels for my wife and I for travel. And for the most recent hotel, the one we're going to stay at first, I just got back through that app, a notification from them. Here are the interesting things to see while you're in this city. So in addition to TripAdvisor, some of these apps are starting to provide that information to you. And that is a good one. Thank you for sharing that. That type of information is great.
Yeah, Bill, with all the donations and everything we get through the mail, maybe use Charity Navigator to make sure you're using a safe way to send your money for donation purposes.
I'm sorry, ask me that one more time, please.
The app is Charity Navigator, and they review all the charities and nonprofits if you want to donate. And they show whether they're using more money to their management or more money actually goes into the for the funds that they say they're going to use.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yep.
Another one, Bill, if anybody uses, Echo products from Amazon, a real nice app, is if you put the Echo app on your smartphone, and all you have to do when you're in the kitchen, if you think, oh, I need some ketchup, you just say, Alexa, add ketchup to my shopping list. And I know you're thinking these things as they come up. She accumulates, and then you go to the store, you got your shopping list on your phone.
That is nice. I actually would like to get into using that, George. I also use notes. I put up here notes. My notepad is starting to look like my OneDrive. But I have shopping over there, and I have shopping for church, the things I buy for church, and shopping for home, and shopping for the computer club, and that kind of thing. And I dictate into that the same way. I just go to notes, open it up, and I say, catch up, and it puts it on the list. But yes, that's when I'm holding something in my hand, your hand's free. Good point. And I do like that app, and thank you for sharing that.
I would like to make a comment that, is photography is one of the things we do a lot of. So one of the real positive things is you should look at Google Photos, because you can take pictures with your camera on your phone or tablet and get it set up that the pictures will always go to the cloud. This way your phone never fills up and you have a backup that's very secure. So if you have any questions on that, come into the lab.
Right. Go ahead.
Question. I've got a few apps that I find useful, but one problem, annoyance I have is you don't really get much in the way of instructions on how to use them or all the things they can do. Give you an example of Google Maps. Last week I dropped my son off at the United Center for a concert. We planned to pick him up later when the concert was over. We stayed in communication. He told me he texted me when the concert was over. And prior to dropping him off, he had arranged with Google Maps that he and I could locate each other on the map for, he put in 8 hours, he put 1 enough.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how to do that, because I think that's very useful, but he knew it, he's smarter than me. at least with computers. So where do you get the information on how to do these little tricks?
Oh boy, that is a good question, because they don't provide any kind of tutorials on most of these apps that you download. After a while, you just learn to navigate. There is, and they keep changing this. They keep changing this. But in most of the apps, I found in the either upper left hand or upper right hand corner, there are 3 dashes or 3 dots, and if you just tap that, it'll bring a menu down that allow you to do different things. Oftentimes in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little, looks like a little gear, like a little wheel gear, and that's settings. And if you tap on that, it'll bring settings up. But you're on your own in terms of how to use them. I will tell you that for the more complicated, like something you just asked, excuse me, I go to Google and I Google how to do this, and it'll show me how to do that, how to do something. So that's about the only advice I have. But they don't come with instruction manuals anymore. Hold on, I got one over here, and then I'll get to you. Go ahead, George.
Just a clarification on the Google Pictures that Frank mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That works on pictures you take that are in your gallery. If you're getting pictures sent to you on text messages as an attachment, you have to take those and put them into the gallery before they'll sync.
Yeah.
So what you get in terms of text message attachments will not automatically sync.
Correct. But the text message, at least for the iPhone, I'm not sure how the Android backs up, but my text messages with its attachments are backed up in the iCloud for me when I run the backup to the iCloud. So it will stay there from that standpoint.
Well,
Yeah.
Bill, on a lighter note, we've discussed.
A lighter note?
Yes.
This was a heavy topic?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
My phone doesn't weigh that much.
We've discussed this many times in the lab on how to work anything on those phones. If you have any grandchildren, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, He'll show you everything.
No, actually, that's a little too old. You started at 4. Our granddaughter at 3 was teaching us things, so. That's a good point, though. You're right. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. If you have questions on this, we are trying to provide this support to you in the club with these mobile devices more and more, so bring them in and we'll talk about it. Thank you.
Donut volunteers line up over here.